talking hardball, the bull and the better. Talking hardball, part of Betting Weekly. Handicappers, they're all in the know. Pick some winners and then we say let's go. So come on, it's time to watch the show. We're talking hardball. Ken Griffey's grotesquely swollen jaw. We're talking hardball.
Live and happy 4th of July, everybody. It's Independence Day. It is the 249th birthday of the United States of America. Doug, I'm old enough. I can't remember if you're old enough to remember the bicentennial back in 1976. I mean, I don't remember it well. I was 5 years old, but I do remember it. Are you old enough for that? I can't remember.
I'm not. I'm not. One of the few times that I feel like this type of topic comes up.
Yeah.
And I say, it's funny. I was referencing the fan the other day in the Arizona Diamondbacks game, and I did a video for YouTube, and I said Steve Bartman-esque, and I just kept going along.
Yeah.
And I realized I got to kind of explain this stuff to people who are not locked in. And I even did a turn back the clock kind of thing with Weber and how he was drafted number 1 overall to Orlando and traded. And I just glossed over the Chris Weber timeout thing.
Oh, God.
Because I thought the details of Orlando Magic Warriors trade was interesting. And I said, well, and it was only a couple months after the Chris Weber timeout. But these are things we actually have to explain because people don't know that Chris Weber and all did all this because it was so many years ago.
Even in a non-sports vein, in a much more serious note, and more recently, when these 20-year-olds start popping into the workforce here, like there's one guy that works on my other show who's in his late 20s, and he was a baby for 9/11, and it's weird to me because it feels like it just happened in a way, I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, it is weird. The Bartman thing, especially me as a Cubs fan, obviously really stands out, but yeah, a lot of these references, young people, and obviously with doing shows on YouTube now, modern media and gambling, is very popular among 20-year-olds, and they're not going to get a lot of those references.
Right, and you mentioned 9/11. It's just people are like, oh yeah, I was in 3rd grade or something like that. I remember my teacher. We had school that day. Stuff like that. My first resume tape, demo reel in the business was a VHS tape. So
yeah, that's true. I remember I remember in college splicing reel-to-reel tape to create like sports clips. It was my gosh, if we had to do that now. Anyway, this is Betting Weekly Hardball. We are here on the 4th of July live, of course. There will be no Betting Weekly Fast Break today at 3 o'clock or 3 o'clock Eastern. That will not be happening. But we will be with you for the foreseeable future here to talk all baseball. And I was mentioning before the show, for the first time in the history of the show, not that the show's been around that long, a couple months, there is a game being played today that is already over by the time we come on the air. It just ended in the last 20 minutes or so. But the first final of the day, Red Sox beat the Nats 11-2 in a game that started at 11 a.m. Eastern. I know you're in the Pacific time zone there, Doug. So that game started at 8 o'clock in the morning. Did you have any action on that one this morning? I know you've been red hot. For those who don't know, Doug is 11-4 over his last 6 appearances on the show. That's close to 2/3. What am I talking about? It's close to 3/4 hit. That's over 70%. So that's sizzling hot. Did you have anything on this game this morning?
No rush to the window.
Yeah.
Things like that. I did go 0-2 yesterday. So a frustrating day, or maybe it was 2 days ago or something like that. Yes. I was only on the Hoop Show.
Yeah.
But, we, you just got to pick your spots and things like that.
All right. Well, there's plenty of action to bounce back with today. And let's get right to it. There is one game in progress and another getting close to starting. They already went over. The over of the second game of the day was 8.5 between the Reds and Phillies. They're going to the bottom of the third. They've already gone over that number. It's 6-3 Cincinnati heading to the bottom of the third. Jesus Luzardo of the Phillies got absolutely smoked in this game, gets knocked out after 2+ innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 walks, 6 runs, and 5 earned. And it's 6-3 Cincinnati going to the bottom of the third. If you're looking at things right now, Cincinnati is minus 400 to win. Obviously, the Phillies opened as the favorite. The over-under, which started, at 8.5, is now 16.5. So as that game sits right now, Doug, 6-3 going to the bottom of the third. Is there anything you like there?
No, nothing jumping out, and it's good. You got to pick your spots sometimes, and sometimes those spots will be an in-game wager. So it's good to just flush it out. For example, even a game at 8 a.m. that starts, like you were talking to earlier about the Red Sox game. But Luzardo getting touched up, I love Abbott. You know that. And he's a guy I often will fire on the window. But if he's touched up early, like giving up 3 earned, it does give me pause because when he's sharp, just like most people or most good pitchers, I should say. But I get a little uneasy if the guy is touched up and the Phillies lineup. It just, let's live to fight another day kind of thing.
No, I hear you. In fact, the Phillies just got their leadoff man on in the bottom of the third, and the Phillies are plus 215. Might not. You get the Phillies.
I would consider -2, -132. I would
for the Reds.
Yeah, I mean Abbott could settle down, right? He gave up 3 in the first, pitched a strong second, but that's bottom of the lineup. It could be a long day as well. So that's my apprehension.
All right, fair enough.
I think this inning will dictate a lot. Master the obvious there.
And Maserati Fox brings up the good point. Of course, Nick Castellanos hit a home run today because for whatever reason, he's known for hitting home runs on special days. It's a bizarre thing that's happened, and it's happened again. He hit a home run. By the way, the Phillies already threatening now, first and second, nobody out in the bottom of the third. All right, next game. They're going to start in about 15 minutes at Wrigley Field. The Cubs just swept the Guardians. So two teams headed in opposite directions. Cubs swept the Guardians. The Cardinals had swept the Guardians, but then they followed that up by getting swept by the red-hot Pirates of all teams. And so the Cardinals come into Wrigley Field. The Cubs and Cardinals played last week in St. Louis. They split a 4-game series. Cards won the first 2. Cubs won the back end. Obviously, the Cubs have been very good at home. Miles Mikolas and Colin Ray. Anything here, Doug? Last night only 1 game scored at Wrigley Field in 10 innings. Could it go opposite today? Maybe a high-scoring game?
3 hits for the Cubs, and they get the win yesterday. That's the kind of life that the Guardians are living these days.
Yeah.
Well, look, rivalry game. I don't want to bet on either pitcher. It's Cubs or pass for me.
Mm-hmm.
But 157's pretty rich, so I'd have to pass on that.
What about anything with the over, even though the Cubs didn't hit yesterday?
No, this Cardinals team is better than you think. So I'd look at the over, but 9.5 is a big number. And if one of these pitchers could pitch pretty well, right? He could do a 7 innings, 2 earned kind of thing, maybe 6 and 2. So not jumping out to me. Maybe I'm a little gun shy coming off the 0-2 performance. We should mention yesterday, Chris Massaro seeing the ball real well, 3-0. So really nice job. Day. I know you were liking a couple of those picks as well. So collectively, you guys were really seeing the ball well. So nice job there to get things started on the maybe long weekend, we'll call it.
That's right. Yes, Chris had a great day yesterday. By the way, the wind conditions at Wrigley Field always a factor. Winds blowing right to left and then out to left. So kind of, it's going to be if the ball's hit to right, it's going to kind of be pushed to left and maybe out. And gusts up to 15 miles an hour. So that could aid some home runs at Wrigley Field. 81 degrees there today. So that's just something to keep an eye on at Wrigley Field. The game will be on Apple TV again, starting a little over 10 minutes. The Battle of New York, the Subway Series, Doug, and both teams are playing terrible baseball. They are, I believe they're both 6-14 in the last 20 games, the Yankees, I saw the stat earlier today. I think the Yankees had an 8-game lead, I believe it was, in the AL East about a month ago. And now they're tied for second with Tampa behind the red-hot Blue Jays. Which team, if you, from, beyond gambling on this, if you, if you had to gamble on this, if you had to bet on this, which team are you more worried about? Which team is going to continue to struggle longer, the Yankees or the Mets?
Oh, I thought you were going to go along the same lines, but say if you had to pick which team to win the division, which would it be?
That's a good one too. Yeah,
So,
give me that one.
right. Well, the Mets, I think only have the Phillies to worry about,
That's true.
unless the Marlins just win every game, like they are lately. Whereas the Yankees have basically every team except the Orioles to worry about. I do think the Yankees are coming back to earth, so I'm more worried about the Yanks. I think the Mets have the better lineup, and I think they have an owner willing to make trades more so than the front office of the Yanks. So I'd be more worried about the Yanks, and I like the Mets a little bit today. I think the Yanks are in trouble. I know you and Chris jokingly had a nice time with the run differential of the Yanks, which is plus 100,
Yeah.
which is incredibly misleading.
Oh, yeah.
So I like the Mets a little bit today. Are we getting an opener here?
Well, so Hagenman is pitching for the Mets. They called him up. He's been a starter in the minors. And so there's a possibility he could throw 70 pitches in this game. But, yeah, I mean, he's not going to go I would think 3-4 innings at the most. So he's kind of somewhere in between a legit starter and an opener. And Marcus Stroman obviously has just came off the injured list somewhat recently, has not pitched well. So I don't love either
upside,
pitcher.
I guess, is there, but he's not a guy I love. I think this
No.
Mets lineup could pound him. So I like the Mets, if anything, today.
Yeah.
Minus $1.30, reasonably priced. I know the Yanks coming back from Toronto, they got the heck out of there after getting swept. And I just don't know if the Mets are on the road, which is, not a huge deal, but still.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right remedy to get. I will say I was impressed with the Yanks comeback from 7 or 8 nothing, whatever it was.
That was a
They still
crazy
lost.
game. Yeah.
But that did show me something. It's not like they're in a complete rut and just, out of sorts. I thought that showed me something. I felt it was more of a strong look for Toronto than the Yankees are completely spiraling.
I agree with
Like
that.
maybe the Guardians are.
Right. I agree. Listen, the Yankees not going to be a 6-14 team the rest of the year. They're going to play better than that. It's funny though. In the beginning of the season, I was making bold predictions, and one of my bold predictions was the Yankees would not make the playoffs, and everybody said I was crazy. And then certainly the Yankees get off to this great start, and I looked completely insane. Well, now listen, I'd still think they're going to make the playoffs at this point, probably. They're not quite as bad. I thought they'd be, when Garrett Cole went down, I thought their pitching would be terrible outside of Max Fried. And I didn't think Fried would be as good as he's been. I thought he'd be good, not great. And I didn't like any of their other starters. And now it's starting to show that way. Rodon's pitched well, much better than I thought. But the rest of their rotation is highly questionable. And I have felt, and I know you've said this a few times, I have felt for a while that their lineup is highly overrated, that Aaron Judge makes up or covers up a lot of major weaknesses in their lineup. And they have all too often in recent years, and again this year, rely on too many old players, which leads to injuries and long stretches of struggles. And that's what we've seen with that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Judge, we know. We've talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Like they, occasionally Goldschmidt will look good, Bellinger, Grisham, who's hurt, things like that. But I mean, it's not like the Mets lineup. But their pitching has been the one that's kept them in it. So if the pitching goes,
Yep.
But Max Fried, there is there if he's on the bump, it's a much different situation than Stroman.
Right. Oh yeah, sure. Big time difference there, but not the case today. So, all right, that game will start at 3:00. I think is it 3:00? 3:05 Eastern. Sorry, 3:10 Eastern to be Exact that game on MLB Network. All right, next game on the docket, we've got the Rangers at the Padres. This on MLB Network as well. Kumar Rocker against Randy Vasquez. The Padres, this game will start at, what time does this game start? 6:40 Eastern, so 3:40 local time there. Vasquez has been pretty solid. Rocker's coming off his best start, but overall has struggled this year. Anything for you in this game, Doug?
No, Padres are scuffling, huh? They haven't been the same team that we thought would contend. Just I don't know. They just don't seem like they're hitting like they lost to. They've lost 3 of 4. Just nothing special out of them, I guess is a way to put it. And I don't know what the remedy is. Do they make a move? Things like that. I don't know. I'm a little all over the place with them.
Yeah.
Not in a rush to bet the Rangers, but I feel like the offense has picked up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe just because I backed them with Grom pitching, but that's the only. I really only want to get involved with them when DeGrom's on the bump, and maybe that's a little just too front leading. But this is a game I don't need to get involved with. I don't trust either pitcher. Vasquez is better than Rocker. Maybe it'd be I could talk myself into San Diego at home against a weak lineup. I like Kumar Rocker. Obviously, he was a stud in college, but it's not. I just don't know what I'm getting, I guess.
Yeah. No, I agree. By the way, the Padres, to back up your point, are 11-16 in their last 27 games. Their offense over the last week, they've scored 1, 6, 0, 2, 6, 1, 1. So, yeah, they've had 2 games where they've scored 6. Otherwise, it's been 2 or less runs every other game for the last week. And, some of that was against Philly, who can pitch, but before that, it was against Cincinnati. So, yeah, they are not playing well at all. And they got a tough schedule heading into the All-Star break. Decent Texas team, decent Arizona team, and then Philadelphia to end it before the break. So they were on June 3rd. After a win on June 3rd, the Padres were 11 games over 500. Right now, they're 6 games over 500.
Right.
So we'll see what happens there. All right. The Astros at the Dodgers. This is a great game, great matchup. Both teams playing excellent baseball. 2 of the best teams in baseball right now. The Dodgers, your Dodgers, have the best record in the National League. They are 56-32. That is I think it's the second best. Yeah. No, it's the best record in baseball. They've passed the Tigers, who have been kind of mediocre lately. And the Astros are 52-35. They are tied with the Cubs for the 3rd best record in baseball. So you have 2 of the top 4 teams in baseball starting a series here. That's exciting stuff.
It is, and it does give me a little bit of a flashback to when I took a day trip from Connecticut to the Game 7 of the World Series in L.A., and then it was a disaster from the start, and the Astros pounded the Dodgers in the first 3 innings and never looked back. I'll never forgive Dave Roberts for not at least starting Kershaw for an inning or so, but neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I'm looking to back the Dodgers this weekend. I think they're just hitting the ball well, all that good stuff, but I don't know if it's Kasperius against McCullers is the matchup I want. Now, Kasperius is okay, but he's coming off a rock job, and McCullers is he'd be a guy I'd look to back. I just need to see more performance out of him because he's been blasted his last couple times.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would say both guys would bounce back. So under 9.5 minus 121, but I think it's a fool's errand to look to back, look to fade a Dodgers lineup. So I'm no rush to bet an under with the Dodgers involved.
Yeah, I was watching McCullers' last start because he's pitching against the Cubs, and he looked terrible. He had no command. He was all over the place. Struggled against the White Sox before that. But he's had good starts, too. 3 starts ago, he looked dominant against Pittsburgh. And, the guy hasn't pitched in 2 years. So I think you should expect some ups and downs when it comes to McCullers. But the Astros lineup, for the most part, has been very good of late. So that could be an interesting game. All right. Before we move on here, folks, make sure you check out the Betting Weekly Studios.com for the newsletter. weekly betting tips, soccer previews, tennis brackets, and breakdowns, all at bettingweeklystudios.com. Next game to get into, we've got the Pirates at the Mariners. Bailey Falter and Wood. Pirates are a red-hot team, Doug. They've won 6 in a row, and now getting to play the Mariners on the road. So
what do you make of the Pirates? Are they a lineup that's finally hitting that you thought had the right guys? Like, what do you
No.
make of the Pirates? So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
thing. It's the pitching obviously is there lately, and we know about Skeens, but what do you make of this sort of push lately? Because I think Seattle, like, I don't think their lineup's as bad as it has been at times, right? I don't
Yeah.
think it's the same lineup that stunk from a couple years ago. I actually think I thought they were going to be like decent hitting and not be as completely anemic. But now I'm worried about them. And the Pirates are playing such good ball. But I mean, the Mariners have seemingly have such an edge in this game. I just
Yeah.
don't think the Pirates, especially like traveling all the way to the Pacific Northwest. But Falter's not a guy I want to fade because I think the market has liked him. But Woo's been so good
Yeah. And I
for
said
most of
Wood
the
instead of
season.
Woo. I don't know what I was talking about there, but
I just yeah, I kinda wanna go run line here, but it's silly move just, considering how hot the Pirates have been.
I think, even the best team, even the worst teams, even the Rockies, right, had a 4-game winning streak. And the Pirates are not Rockies bad, but they're bad. Their lineup stinks. I do not buy into their lineup. Lately, they've had guys hot like Tommy Pham and guys like that. They'll give you a good week or two here or there, but the
Right.
Pirates are a fraud. I'm not buying. I mean, again, they got a nice rotation. It's solid. Their bullpens, I still don't buy into, and their lineup stinks. I expect them to come down to earth, and I do expect the Mariners to win. Woo has been very good. If you go back to his last 7 starts, I'm sorry, if you go back to his last 3 starts, not 7. I was looking in the wrong direction. His last 3 starts against Boston, Minnesota, and Texas, he's pitched 20 innings and allowed just 2 earned runs, and both on solo home runs. So 21 innings, 2 earned runs. He's walked 5 and struck out 24. So he has been lights out his last 3 starts against Boston, Minnesota, and Texas. Again, he had a couple of bad starts before that against Arizona and Baltimore, but outside of those 2 starts, I mean, he's really only had 3 bad starts all year. He's been very good.
Right.
Whereas their rotation has had all kinds of injuries and issues, but he's been a rock for them. I'm a believer in Brian Woo, and I think he ends the Pirates' winning streak today.
All right, I got a same game parlay for you.
Yeah.
We're gonna get on the board here.
Okay, what do we got?
So I like I said Falter could pitch well, the Mariners
Yeah.
offense. How about we just do Pirates team total under, right? Just let's back Woo.
Yeah.
But the juice under 3.5 is a little pricey at -167, especially for a team
Okay.
that's hitting the ball well. There's 6
Yeah.
straight wins, right? So we'll add in what should be an easy K prop for Woo over 4.5. Just by
Love it.
adding that, we get to -124.
Love it.
So I can live with that. So I would go a same game parlay, Woo over 4.5 strikeouts.
Yep.
And then Pirates under 3.5 runs.
I'm in. Lock me in with you on that one.
-124.
Woo as is over the 6 strikeouts, 3 of his last 4 starts. And so I like that. I think the bloom is going to be off the rose for the Pirates today. And let me see where the Pirates, in terms of striking out, they are. Where are the Pirates? Oh, they are 20. They are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 9th worst team in baseball in terms of strikeouts per at bat.
It tracks.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Not shockingly, Colorado is the worst team in baseball. They strike out an average of 10 times per game. The Yankees are actually 4th there. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Let me give you an update on the game that's going on. This game continues to be a wild one. Cincinnati leads Philly 7-4. Reds batting top of the fourth. They have runners at first and second with only one out. The Reds have just been on fire today. The Phillies had cut the 6-3 lead to 6-4 in the bottom of the third, but the Reds got that run right back. And like I said, first and second with only one out in the top of the fourth with Austin Hayes at the plate for Cincinnati. Cubs and Cardinals just getting underway. A quick top of the first for Colin Ray of the Cubs. He retired the Cardinals in order. Strikeout, line out, pop out. Did it in 9 pitches. So they go to the bottom of the first at Wrigley, and it's 0-0 there. All right, let's move on to the next game. We've got the Tigers at the Guardians. Now, I've been, as you know, Doug, I work in Cleveland, and the Guardians have everybody's angry about the Guardians here in Cleveland. They've played absolutely terrible baseball since the start of June. They're the worst team offensively. I mean, they were already pretty bad, and for the season, they're like 26. But since the start of June, they're the worst team offensively in baseball in pretty much every statistical category. They've lost 7 in a row, and now they got to play the Tigers. They did take 3 out of 4 from the Tigers about 5-6 weeks ago in Detroit. But since then, I think they've won 2 series since then. Plus, they got Luis Ortiz, who's a good pitcher, got suspended yesterday because he may have tanked for gambling. He may, I'm sure a lot of people saw that story, but there are 2 pitches he threw where there was some betting activity on the first pitch, and his pitches were way off, and he's being investigated for purposely throwing balls on 2 pitches. And if he's found to be, guilty of that, he's going to be banned from baseball. So the Guardians are a disaster right now.
They really are. I mean, You captured it. Everything going wrong. And then the one of the lone bright spots is a guy who's being investigated by the federal authorities or whatever it is, baseball. Yeah. And that's not good. So I kind of want to play the Tigers, but I don't, right? It's a little bit of a force. I'd rather play them in another game this weekend and just kind of bully ball the Guardians. And what I was looking for, honestly, is a series price in this matchup because I feel like today's a swing game and that even if you lost it, you could kind of bounce back the next 2 games. And that's something that would interest me, but it's also unnecessary, right? Do we really need to get that and just wait to bet them? I mean, you have Scooble going Sunday. You have Mize tomorrow. So that's why I kind of like the idea. If you can steal a win today in a coin flip sort of price, then it's, you're only minus 130 today. So I'd rather take the series price because if you get the win today, you're looking good. Right. And I just don't know enough about Ciccone, who's pitching for the Guardians. And I was considering a Nerfy for a little action, but it would just feel like a force, right? It would just feel like a force at minus 122, so there's no need to force that.
Ciccone's been pretty solid for the Guardians, but his last start, he really struggled against the Cardinals. Before that, he had 4 straight good starts against the Yankees, Reds, Giants, and A's, and he went at least 5 innings, gave up 2 runs or less in all of them, but he struggled, as I said, last time out. I kind of like the Guardians under 3.5 runs on the team total at minus 114. What do you think of that?
It's hard not to like that. I had him earlier this week going against Matthew Boyd. I had under 3.5. They put up a 2 spot in 1 inning and then didn't score again.
Yeah.
And with that lineup, that's the only way I would play it. 3.5 with that juice. I guess the question is, so it's minus 114. I think I had 140 something in that juice. So I had Boyd. And here with the Tigers, you just don't know. Guardians are at home instead of being at Wrigley. It feels like a fair price. You're probably getting a cheaper, the juice is minus 114. It should be minus 135, maybe in my eyes. My gut tells me that.
Yeah. All right. Next game to talk about. We got the Brewers at the Marlins. Marlins have, like the Pirates, are hot. Marlins have won 9 of 10. Quinn Priester against Alcantara for the Marlins. Or Alcantara. I always forget if it's Alcantara or Alcantara. I feel like I've said it both ways. I should know that. I should be certain about
It's
that.
feels like Caribbean. I think
Yeah.
both are acceptable.
Okay. Fair enough. 7:10 Eastern start in Miami. What are we looking at here, Doug?
I do think the Marlins are just hitting above. Well, obviously going 9-1 in a 10-game stretch is can't something you can't do consistently. But I actually have come around a little bit on them and think they're not bad. I think they're better than the Pirates. I think they're better than some of these other teams. I wish they were like 6 or 7 games back and not 11 in the division
Hmm. That's a lot.
because I mean you can get triple digits on them to make a serious run, and I like triple digits. They're a bet on team right now. To be completely honest, the problem is Alcantara stinks, and they're going to be sellers at the deadline
Yeah.
or before then. I Marlins are a team I would look to bet on. As crazy as that sounds, I think so they're 9-1 their last 10. The only reason they lost that one game with a guy on second, they had a rope single up the middle, but it hit the umpire and went into the outfield. It grazed like a pant leg.
Yeah.
It common sense would have been like runner should score. But because it grazed the umpire, not the umpire, but the ump in the second base area, they had to move the runner back to third, and they didn't get the tying run home on the next at bat. So this is a team that's hitting and playing well. They're the team I do not want to bet against right now. So I'm not in a rush to bet against them. And do I want to bet on them? I don't know. Not with
Right.
Alcantara going. So I would say they're a pass for me, but the rest of the weekend, I might be betting on them.
A couple updates on games in progress. That Reds Phillies game continues to be a wild one. 7-4, but the Phillies had first and third. Nobody out. Now it's first and third. One out. The Cubs on the board. A 2-out solo home run by Seiya Suzuki. Did you know, Doug, that Seiya Suzuki leads the major leagues in RBIs? I feel like
I
nobody is
had no
talking about
clue.
this guy, right?
I had
There's
no clue.
no, unless you're a Cubs fan, you wouldn't know that. Nobody's talking about this guy. He didn't, I don't know if he's going to make the All-Star team. The guy's leading the league in ribbies. He has 74, more than Judge, more than Cal Raleigh, who's having this magnificent season. 74 ribbies on July the 4th is pretty incredible. And now 2-0 Cubs as Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong, who is in the All-Star game, have just gone back-to-back.
Yeah, this could be one of those days for the Cardinals. This is why I was Mets or Cubs or pass, and I
Yeah,
just didn't want to pull the trigger. But Suzuki has to get to the All-Star game, don't you think? I
I
mean,
would think.
when's the last time the leader of the RBIs at the
Yeah.
All-Star break or decision time did not make the All-Star game?
I don't know. It'd be
I mean, we're
crazy.
such an offensive-minded community in baseball.
Yeah.
It has to be, right?
I would think so. I mean, they already obviously Pete Crow Armstrong and Kyle Tucker are already going for the Cubs. You can make a case for their first baseman Michael Busch as well, but I would think so. I mean, the Suzuki has a good chance to have 80, 85 ribbies at the All-Star break. You would think. They haven't picked the benches yet, so we'll see. So we'll see what happens there. Let's get to the next game. In the meantime, and that's the Angels and the Blue Jays. We briefly talked about the Blue Jays earlier when we talked about the Yanks. The Blue Jays are as hot as anybody. They've won 5 in a row. Game also on Apple TV today. Kyle Hendricks, who's been surprisingly decent lately for the Angels, but that could blow up in a hurry. Eric Lauer for Toronto, but that Toronto lineup has been just on fire lately, Doug.
Yeah, so I guess the question is it the Yankees pitching or Toronto lineup? And I'd have to gosh, it's tempting to get involved the Blue Jays. This Angels lineup can pop though. Not household names, right? We know
Right.
that. Not ones they're feast or famine. So this Angels lineup can pop. And I do think the Blue Jays could be getting hot, and it's the right team from all the way on the West Coast. They're just not like the Braves aren't anything. They just did well in Atlanta, but I just Toronto, I have a feeling is going to crush them, but
Yeah, I
I don't
agree.
want to pay to see it. I don't want to pay to see it at $1.67. I just feel like Hendricks is going to have some regression. I wonder if this is it. Blue Jays seeing the ball well. You can make the argument that it's a little bit of a for the Jays, just off the big win, take over first place. And what do you do?
Yeah. What
I
could we
thought about
get,
a
Doug?
team total.
Doug,
5.5 is too high.
what could we get for a Blue Jays win and over 9.5 runs parlay?
Plus 185.
I kind of like that. You don't feel good about the over
I
9.5?
don't dislike it. I don't dislike it. I just feel the Angels lineup is so feast or famine that, they only put up 12 runs in 3 games against the Braves. And I wouldn't be shocked if Lauer goes like 6 innings, 2 earned, and the Blue Jays win 6-2, 7-2. Kind
And
of
Lauer's pitched pretty well. But
I'd rather do a Blue Jays run line at plus 118 because I think if they get to Hendricks, it might get ugly. A lot of crooked numbers.
That's fair. I could see that happening as well.
But no need to. I just think I'm going to be kicking myself when the Blue Jays are up 5-1 after like 4 innings.
All right. By the way, somebody in the chat mentioned something about Joey Chestnut. Did you watch?
Yeah, SF Niner.
What's that?
SF Niner contributing. I like that.
Did you? I mean, Joey Chestnut, a year off after the controversy of last year, comes back, and it's just not even a competition. He won by about 25 dogs,
right? He's the most dominant athlete of all time. And I did not get up and watch. I have been very into this event in years past and won a lot of money on his under the year he was on crutches.
Yeah.
People were really, you should see the screenshots of text messages I had with a professional bettor just breaking down why the market is just not adjusting to Chestnut being on crutches.
Right.
And having just like the amount of movement you have when your body and you're jiggling and you're wiggling, you're back and forth rocking and not being able to do that. And he went under by like 10.
Well, today he went under by a half because it was 71.5 today. He ate 71. And early he was on a crazy pace. Like he was on pace for 90 plus in the first 5 minutes or first 4 minutes. And he slowed down at the end. He was up by so many. I think the second place guy I don't even think he had 50.
I did not get involved. I do respect the betting and the handicapping of the dog eating contest.
Yeah.
Especially on the women's side when there was, what was it, Black Widow and things like that. So I love it. I love anything you can bet on. And I don't mean that in a degenerate way. I think it's an extension of what we as guys do all the time.
Yeah.
With, any sort of conversation. And I don't know if you saw, I'm going to go really off the beaten path, but the documentary on the Olympic basketball gold medal team in Netflix. And basically Anthony Edwards was a big, I could beat them if I got, in a 25-yard race. Like he was convinced he could beat some Olympic swimmers in a 25-yard race. He's convinced he could get a point off the table tennis Olympians.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. The hypotheticals is like what we do and what guys have done their entire life. So putting odds on anything like the one man versus 100 men versus one gorilla, like that kind of stuff. I just love the discussion. And frankly, investment banks in New York and stuff, when they do interviews, they don't ask guys or women about, finance questions. They say, how do you calculate the amount of marbles it would take to fill up Yankee Stadium? And you just see how people think. And that's some of what this stuff is. How many hot dogs will he eat in 10 minutes or whatever it is? So I love it. And it's been fascinating.
One of my colleagues from my other show, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, Tyvis Powell, who played in the NFL. He played in the NFL for a few years with Seattle and San Francisco. He's still a young guy. I think he's like 31, 32. He is convinced, and he's still fast. He was very fast, when he was in his prime, but he's still fast compared to normal people. He's convinced he could steal 48 out of 50 bases in Major League Baseball. And I said, you're out of your mind. But he's convinced. Yesterday, he claimed he could beat LeBron in one-on-one right now. And then That's when I knew he was completely off his rocker. But shout out to Tyvus. All right, let's get to the
He
next
did
game.
play in the NFL, so it's not a random
Yeah, I
guy.
mean he's a hell of an athlete, but he's
right.
not at his NFL playing weight. He probably played. I think he played it too. He was a big corner safety. He
And
was like
LeBron's like a top
225.
10 player right now, top
Yeah, I mean, he
15.
still is. Tyvus, you crazy, but we love you. All right, Orioles, Braves, MLB Network. Charlie Morton faces his old team. Charlie Morton, who looked completely shot in the beginning of the year, has pitched better lately. Spencer Strider for the Braves. The Braves have had a miserable season. The most disappointing team in the league. They've had the injury. Schwellenbach, who'd been excellent, just went on the injured list. They're a mess. Anything in this game here? Braves are an underdog at home to the other most disappointing team in the league, the Orioles.
Yeah, this is a stunner. I actually would be, well, the Orioles aren't Braves are favored here, but this both teams here, I would look at under 8.5. I actually think the pitchers are going to be fine here. I think the lineups are that struggling, and Olson's been okay in the last month or so after being really disappointing to start. I'm not laying $1.90.
Yeah.
For me, it's under or pass. And man, I'm tempted to fire on the under for some reason. I think both guys will bring it. Thought about a nerfy as well in this game, but yeah, you know what? I just worry about both pitchers being like amped.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do a nerfy in this game, -113. I'll get involved here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I
Um,
was. I don't know
I
what I
think
was
these
looking at.
offenses stink. You were maybe looking at the run line.
Yeah. Okay. That's probably what I was doing. Right. Yes, that's what I was looking at. Yeah. All right. So a nerfy in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I usually do a half unit, so I'll do a
Yeah.
quarter unit on the nerfy, and then another corner unit on the under.
On the under. Okay.
-107. So I like that's always good. I
Okay.
like that.
All right. Rays and Twins. Zach Littell, Chris Paddock going in this one. Twins are playing terrible baseball. Rays right, tied with the Yankees now, just behind the Blue Jays in that big battle in the American League East. Anything for you here, Doug?
This is like you mentioned, one team playing terrible baseball, another playing well. This would be weird where it's like I don't even care what the pitchers are, which is almost just silly handicapping, but
Yeah.
you just want to bet on the team that's playing well and hitting the ball. And I mean, Paddock stinks.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're favored. Paddock is finally coming back to earth. Littell's no picnic, but I think the Rays are the play. The line is so out of whack in my eyes that I feel like something's wrong here. But I'm going to take the Rays. And last time I saw it, BetRivers, it was plus money. So I don't know if that's a typo or something. But yeah, plus 102, plus 104 kind of thing. But I got to jump on the Rays. They're playing better, and they're going to get to Paddock. And I think the Twins stink. Chris Massaro, about 2 weeks ago, was trying to tell us about Minnesota being just a farce of a team. And we were all laughing that they actually won 13 straight games earlier this year. But I'm on the Rays here.
By the way, to back that play, Chris Paddock, who you said stinks, his last 4 starts, 18 and 2/3 innings, 19 earned runs. So his ERA is over 9 in his last 4 starts. He's given up 29 hits in 18 and 2/3, just awful. 3 home runs, and he only has 11 strikeouts total in his last 4 starts. So yeah, he's been absolutely awful. And with the Rays playing well, it's a good time to go with the Rays here. So yeah, why are the Twins favored?
Well, they're at home, and it's funny, and I've talked about this with various bettors. Is of all the home field / home court advantages in all of sports, what do you think has the most distinct advantage? Because in the NFL, underdogs are covering because the travel and the technology. For me, it's college basketball. I think those environments and against college kids. But if you break it down, like baseball should be the answer because strategically you have an advantage later in the inning, later in the game, right? With the bottom up. So we as bettors sometimes overlook the fact that the home team has a huge advantage in close games late in the game. But I still would put college basketball sort of road home most difficult.
Right.
But not in the NBA. Again, the travel for professional athletes has gotten so much better that recreational bettors are still hung up on the home road thing, and road teams are the way to go. So I like the Rays. I think they have the better pitcher, better lineup, not messing around. They're playing better. Give me the Rays plus money all day.
All right, let's go rapid fire of the games we did not touch, and there aren't many of them, but we've got the White Sox and the Rockies. This is a battle of the two most pathetic teams, and I'll tell you something, Doug. This is big for the Rockies because if somehow at home the Rockies sweep this series, they would only be 5 games back of the White Sox to try to get out of that basement for worst record in baseball. By the way, before the show, we were talking with Alex and Z, who are the producers for the show. Alex is a White Sox fan, and I was discussing with him. We were talking about if you combine the White Sox and Rockies, like what kind of team would you have? And I said it would still be the worst team in baseball. Think about how bad you have to be. If you took these two teams and made one team out of them, it would still, by far, in my opinion, be the worst team in baseball. That's how little talent there is on these two teams.
Give me the under 11. I think these lineups are really bad.
Yeah.
Remember I've been big on Shane Smith all year. Hauser's not bad, and I think Sensatella is decent at home. Believe it or not, he's better at home, and these lineups are awful. So I'll go under 11 here. Let's have another get involved here with the White Sox. I think Colorado is bad. I've liked their unders lately at Coors.
Yeah.
Like I just think, they just can't do anything, and 11's a big number. And I know, but Hauser should be solid here. And the Rockies are not good. Now, I don't think the White Sox are going to catch them for the worst record. So I'm not too worried about that. Do we have any tanking potential here? We don't see tanking in baseball.
No,
Is there a stud up for grabs in these drafts?
Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, if you could speak in my ear here, but I don't think the White Sox even can get the first pick in the draft this year. This year they can't. It was last year they couldn't. That's right. Yeah, they're picking right in this year's draft. Even though the White Sox have the worst record, they're picking 10th in this year's draft, which is unbelievable. They had the worst record by far. So maybe I don't know. I don't follow college baseball close enough. I feel like if there was one player that was an all timer like a Paul Skeens, I would know about it, but
right,
I'm not sure. Royals Diamondbacks 9:40 Eastern. Chris Bubich and Eduardo Rodriguez in that one. Anything in that game?
No. D-backs are getting hot, but they got stymied by Robbie Ray yesterday. They're not quite that hot level I thought they could get. And I do like Bubich, and we've talked about him.
Yep.
But this Royals lineup, I had some action the last couple of days with Lugo and things like that when they were in Seattle.
Yeah.
And just every run felt like it was squeezing blood out of a turnip or whatever the saying is. I think this is the right, given the pitching advantage for Casey, I think this is the right price. I'd look at under.
Yeah.
Royals offense has issues, even though they have a couple nice bats.
Yeah.
Besides that, they got some issues. They kind of remind me of the Yankees, to be honest. I mean, I'm not putting Witt with Judge territory, but you have a dominant hitter like that, and then it's just table scraps after that.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously Salvador Perez is still good, and Vinny Pasquantino's good, but they've called up their top pick, Jag Caglione. He was great in the minors. He has struggled so far in the big leagues. Right. The rest of their lineup is absolute trash. Finally, the Giants and the A's, 10:05 Eastern, Verlander and Sears. And Justin Verlander, I mean, it's a stat that I think is kind of meaningless in terms of how good a pitcher is, but he hasn't won a game this year in 13 starts. So it matters to him probably. And he's pitched better his last 2 starts, albeit against bad lineups in Miami and the White Sox, although Miami's been better. 11 innings, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. I mean, he's not the same pitcher anymore. But anything in this game?
He's a gamer, though. He's a gamer. He's had mediocre outings, 5 or 6 innings with 3 earned or 2 earned, kind of that stuff. But I wonder how he's going to adapt in this kind of a ballpark, right? And he's going to bring the noise. He's going to compete. But the Giants lineup is terrible. Devers, by the way, is the most strikeouts in baseball since being acquired by San Francisco. So Boston may get the last laugh there. I want no part of this game. To be honest, it would be
Yeah.
Athletics or pass.
All right.
Sears is okay.
Yeah, I don't think I know Devers has been bad. I'm not giving the Red Sox the last laugh yet. I got to see it a lot longer, but yeah, Devers has struggled so far, no doubt about it. All right, let's just look back at the two games that are still going on. They go to the third inning at Wrigley Field. Cubs lead the Cardinals 4-0. They've hit 4 solo homers, back to back from Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong in the first inning. And then back-to-back again in the second inning, Michael Busch and Carson Kelly. So in a 5-batter stretch, the Cubs hit 4 home runs, 4 solo shots, and lead that game 4-0. And that Reds-Phillies game, it's now 9-4 Cincinnati. So when we first came on, the score was 6-3 Cincy, and you said you liked Cincy -2. And if people listen to you, they're in good shape now because they were up by 3 at the time, and they're up by 5 now. It's 9-4 with the Reds, I believe, still batting in the top of the 5th. I mean, this game is just a crazy game. 13 runs and 20 hits, and we're not even through 4.5 innings. 1 on, 2 out for Cincinnati. All right, Doug, let's recap your picks for today, and hopefully it's good luck for the fans. What do you got?
Yeah, we'll start in Seattle with the Mariners hosting the Pirates. I don't trust this Pittsburgh win streak, but I don't want to bet against them just to lose the game. I'd rather have their offense I would bet against. So I'm going to do a same game parlay, which comes out to -124 juice. Pirates under 3.5 runs, and then Seattle pitcher Wu over 4.5 Ks. He should get there no problem. The juice on that is heavy, but if you put them together, same game parlay, -124. Questionable pitching matchup in Atlanta, but I'm going to ride with the under 8.5 for a quarter unit. So I'm going to split up my normal half unit into 2 bets involving no runs. So under 8.5 -107 with the Orioles and Braves. Strider pitching at home against Charlie Morton, former Atlanta Brave, coming in with Baltimore.
Yep.
And then I'm also going to go a Nerfy, which is no run first inning, -113 in that game. So again, split up the corner unit there. I'm going to back the Rays. They're on the road in Minnesota. I don't trust Chris Paddock. Littell, I think, is the better pitcher. So I'll take +102 with the road team, and we'll do an under at Coors Field, which is really more of a bet against the offenses than a bet on the pitchers. But the pitchers are okay. Hauser going for the White Sox. And Sensatella is a gas can more so on the road. So at Coors, you obviously get the inflated number at 11. So I'll go under there at -109.
By the way, one other thing I didn't mention before to back your Rays pick, the Rays have the best road record in all of Major League Baseball. They are 20-14 on the road, 6 games over. Only team that's close is the Dodgers, who are 5 over on the road. So Rays are the best road team in baseball. So and you're playing a terrible team right now. So I love it. All right, everybody have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy the 4th. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be back with Betting Weekly Hardball on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific. Where else but right here, part of the Betting Weekly studios with BetRivers. For Doug, I'm Adam. Thanks to Alex and Z. We'll talk to you next time on Betting Weekly Hardball.